The story begins near the end of 1941. Nazi Germany's massive assault on the Soviet Union, known as Operation Barbarossa, has reached the outskirts of Moscow. German forces have been dominating the war. Their tanks have torn through Soviet defenses, and their planes control the skies. The Red Army is low on morale, and their supply lines are barely holding. Junior Lieutenant Nikolai Ivushkin of the Soviet Army is traveling toward a small town called Bovo, about 35 kilometers from Moscow. He's delivering food and supplies to a group of soldiers stationed there. Nikolai drives an old, battered truck through the icy terrain, with a young private sitting beside him. While passing a road sign showing directions to nearby towns, Nikolai stops the truck, grabs an axe, and chops down the sign. He wants to confuse any German troops that might use it to navigate. Suddenly, a German Panzer III tank appears on a nearby hill and fires at them. Nikolai quickly jumps back into the truck and steers through the snow, narrowly dodging the shells. Thanks to his quick thinking and deep knowledge of tanks, both men survive. At the Soviet camp in Bovo, Captain M reports grim news. His battalion is down to one operational tank. He's badly wounded himself and can't command it. Despite this, the higher officer orders him to hold the line and fight to the end. Later that night, Nikolai arrives with the much-needed food and supplies. Captain M, realizing he's an ammunition officer, immediately puts him in charge of their last remaining tank.
My brother.
The mission is simple yet impossible. Defend the retreat of the Soviet troops and a mobile hospital from advancing German forces. Nikolai takes over a damaged T-34 tank whose previous commander has been killed. With just one tank and a handful of soldiers, he must delay the German advance. Nikolai wastes no time. He gathers the soldiers assigned to the tank and gives them a serious briefing. When they joke about facing an entire German division with a single tank, Nikolai cuts them off. He scolds them for their fear and orders them to check every bolt and shell on the T-34. Before heading to a strategy meeting, he warns them they'll face punishment if they complain again, and tells them to prepare extra ammunition. The next morning, German officer Klaus Jaeger and his men scout the village from behind a tree line. He suspects the Russians are up to something, but is confident enough to order his panzers forward. Unbeknownst to him, Nikolai's crew has set a trap. Their T-34 is hidden under a haystack, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. As the German tanks advance, Jaeger stops and examines the village through binoculars. He spots what looks like a cannon inside a shed and orders his men to destroy it. But the cannon is fake, just a decoy made of wood. Before they realize it, the T-34 fires and destroys 2 German tanks in one blast. The ambush reveals their position, and soon they're surrounded. Nikolai commands his men to drive toward a barn on the edge of the village. German soldiers advance on foot, but the Soviet infantry provides cover, picking them off as the T-34 keeps firing. A brutal firefight erupts, and the Soviets destroy 6 enemy panzers. Eventually, Jaeger and his crew corner Nikolai's tank. The two sides engage in a fierce one-on-one duel, trading direct hits. Both tanks take heavy damage, and half of Nikolai's crew dies trying to escape the burning T-34. Nikolai pulls his injured driver, Stepan, out of the wreck, just as Jaeger, wounded, crawls out of his own tank and shoots at them before passing out. Nikolai and Stepan survive, but are captured soon after by German troops. 3 years pass. A train pulls into the Thea concentration camp in Germany, unloading prisoners of war. The camp warden mockingly welcomes them, calling the place a resort. Among the prisoners is Nikolai, who has refused to reveal his name since his capture. The warden, through a Russian interpreter named Anya, demands his identity and rank. When Nikolai remains silent, the guards torture him. Weeks later, Jaeger, now promoted to Standartenführer, arrives at the camp. He gets permission from the warden to recruit Soviet prisoners to serve as mock opponents in tank training for Nazi crews. Searching through camp records, he recognizes Nikolai's photo and remembers his skill from their last battle. Jaeger offers Nikolai a deal: train German tank crews under him. Nikolai refuses, calling it treason. But when Jaeger threatens to kill Anya, he reluctantly agrees. The next day, Nikolai selects 3 Soviet prisoners to join his tank crew. Stepan, his former driver, Yonov, a loader, and Volchkov, a gunner. The Germans assign them to restore a captured Soviet T-34 85 tank for testing. When Nikolai climbs inside the tank, he's horrified to find the decomposed bodies of fallen Soviet soldiers still inside. Grief hits him hard, but then he spots something: 6 armor-piercing shells and grenades hidden beneath the floor. He instantly hatches a plan. Pretending to follow orders, he asks permission to bury the dead, wrapping the live rounds with the bodies before covering them under stones. As weeks go by, the prisoners carefully repair the tank. Nikolai uses mud to build a miniature model of the camp and its surroundings, outlining a potential escape path. When he explains the plan to his men, Stepan doubts they can ever get out. Too many German tanks guard the area. But Nikolai reminds him that a soldier's duty is to fight, no matter what. One evening, Jaeger calls Nikolai to discuss the upcoming training test. He describes the terrain and instructs where to position the T-34. Nikolai suggests he should choose his own position so the Germans can face a real challenge. Amused by the idea, Jaeger agrees. The day of the test finally arrives. German officers and trainee crews gather around the training field as Jaeger prepares his soldiers for a mock battle. Nikolai and his men secretly dig up the buried shells and load them into the T-34, knowing this is their only chance at freedom. Moving forward, I just want to let you know, if you liked watching this video, please consider subscribing, as it helps us grow and make more content for you.
I swear to.
The exercise begins. The German tanks move in, expecting an unarmed vehicle. Inside the observation tower, Jaeger watches confidently. Meanwhile, Anya sneaks into his office and steals a detailed map showing safe routes out of the region. She also takes a travel pass that allows movement outside the camp. On the field, Nikolai's crew releases smoke to mask their movements. The Germans still believe the T-34 has no real ammunition. Moments later, the Soviet tank fires a live round.
Fire!
It obliterates the 1st Panzer in one hit. Shock spreads through the camp. Before the Germans can react, the T-34 fires again, this time straight into the observation tower. The blast kills nearly everyone inside. Jaeger barely escapes, jumping out of the collapsing structure. Using the chaos to their advantage, Nikolai's crew crushes through the parked vehicles and smashes through the main gate. The Soviets are free. Outside the camp, Anya uses the stolen pass to walk out calmly and waits by a bus stop. Soon, the T-34 roars down the road and picks her up in front of stunned German civilians. With the stolen map, Nikolai plots a course toward Czechoslovakia, hoping to reach the Soviet front lines. After hours of non-stop travel, they stop in a small town to find food, clothing, and fuel. The locals stare silently as the exhausted crew takes what they need. But as they leave, a German blockade appears ahead, an anti-tank gun waiting for them. Nikolai orders the tank off the road and into the forest. Shells explode around them as they crash through trees, barely surviving the ambush. When the smoke clears, they've vanished into the woods. Back at the German base, Jaeger learns the fugitives have escaped the blockade. Realizing where they're headed, he calls for air reconnaissance. Soon, he climbs into a two-seater fighter plane and takes to the sky. From above, he spots signs of the T-34's trail leading toward a narrow pass into Czechoslovakia. When he lands, he orders 4 panzer tanks under his command and sets up an ambush in a nearby town called Klingenthal. Meanwhile, Nikolai's crew continues through the forest. Stepan warns that the tank is overheating and needs rest. Nikolai directs him toward a secluded mountain pass where they can stop for the night. They finally step outside after endless hours inside the metal shell. The men bathe in a nearby lake, while Anya cooks dinner over a small fire. For the first time in years, they feel almost human again. That night, Jaeger's reconnaissance confirms the Soviets' route. He moves his panzers toward Klingenthal to intercept them. In the forest, Nikolai holds a meeting with his team. He suggests they abandon the tank and split up, believing they have a better chance if they travel separately. But none of them agree to leave him or the T-34 behind. Later that night, while the others sleep, Nikolai and Anya sit together by the fire. Their bond has grown deep through everything they've endured. But the brief peace ends when Nikolai hears distant rumbling, the unmistakable sound of tanks. He instantly understands what it means. The Germans have found them. He tells Anya to go east through the forest and wait in a meadow near Klingenthal.
Wake up! Jaeger's here. They'll block the mountain pass by morning. We'll have to break through in the dark.
If they don't return by the next night, she must continue alone. The T-34 rolls out once more and enters Klingenthal just as dawn breaks. Almost immediately, a German panzer appears. Volchkov knows a frontal hit won't work, so he fires a shell that bounces off the cobblestone street and pierces the tank's underside. The explosion wipes out the enemy crew, but it's only the beginning of a brutal showdown. The Soviets soon realize they're surrounded by 3 more panzers, including Jaegers. Every escape route is blocked. Thinking fast, Nikolai hands Volchkov a grenade and orders him to distract one of the enemy tanks. Thick fog covers the town as Volchkov sneaks through the rubble. He spots a panzer with its hatch open, climbs silently up, and tosses the grenade inside before slamming the hatch shut. A muffled blast rocks the street, tearing the German tank apart from within. The remaining panzers hesitate. Nikolai seizes the chance. He drives straight through a collapsing building and fires point-blank, destroying another. But Jaeger's forces close in fast. One German tank turns its gun toward the T-34, ready to fire. Suddenly, a shot erupts from behind. Volchkov, now inside the captured panzer, takes out the attacker. Unfortunately, Jaeger retaliates instantly and destroys Volchkov's tank, leaving him gravely wounded. Now only 2 tanks remain, Jaeger's and Nikolai's. They face each other across a narrow stone bridge over a river. Both crews prepare for a final duel. Jaeger fires repeatedly, but his shots only graze the armor. Nikolai has a single shell left. He holds his fire, waiting for the right second. Both tanks shoot simultaneously. The blasts collide, engulfing the bridge in flames. Most of Jaeger's crew is killed, and his tank is crippled. Bleeding and desperate, Jaeger tries to reload. but his weapons are destroyed. Nikolai orders Stepan to ram the enemy tank. The T-34 charges forward, slamming the Panzer to the edge of the bridge. Jaeger climbs out of the hatch and sees Nikolai standing over him with a rifle aimed at his chest. For a tense moment, neither moves. Then Nikolai lowers the gun. He refuses to kill a helpless man. He reaches out to pull Jaeger to safety, but the German officer shakes his head and lets go, falling into the river with his destroyed tank. Silence settles over the battlefield. The surviving Soviet crew carries the wounded Volchkov on a makeshift stretcher. They meet Anya waiting just outside the town, relief washing over all of them. Together, they head toward the Soviet lines, battered, free, and alive.